evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope voting day, which I still need to do. Why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I keep myself organized here. Okay. Some announcements. We went into executive session, came out, we talked about a legal matter, we had a contract, we had a student disciplinary issue, and a negotiation to discuss. All in a half an hour, very well done. On further announcements, I just want to also let everybody know, if you have not noticed, we're searching for a superintendent. We have a superintendent live search going on. It is posted. We have live forums going on now. Hopefully the community is hearing me tonight to attend the forums that we have. We have 20 scheduled at this point. As of Sunday, 11/2, we have had 301 comments to the survey. The surveys remain open for the community to continue. You don't have to just take it once, you can take it multiple times, whatever. The survey remains open. Our timeline will indicate that we have 20 scheduled forums over the next week. So again, hopefully the community is hearing me and we're going to keep pushing it out for the community at large to attend. Our school community, our 518 community at Shenendehowa to attend those open forums. So I wanted to give everybody an update on that. Once that is done, the Board of Education, my colleagues and myself will sit around the table and we will look at the results and all the comments coming through on that. I will open the floor to any discussions that anybody wants to have right now before we go into the agenda.
Just some clarification. This is different from the online surveys. The forum are individuals in the community that are invited.
They go to a, yeah.
Can they reach out or how does that happen? I did get this question and I wasn't able to answer it.
I'm sorry,
so meaning
your question.
So these forums are in person or virtual, but they're different from the surveys.
It's the same questions that
right.
are at the forums that are on the survey.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the forums, it's individuals. It's not anonymous like it is with the online survey.
Correct. You're showing up to a forum. Yeah.
So how are those groups picked?
They're not picked. Anybody can come. Anybody from the public can attend.
Okay. And where are they? At district office or at BOCES office?
They're all on.
They're all on.
They're all here.
And I think we all identified where they were going. Yeah.
So if someone that's listening tonight wants to go to one, where are they going to go?
They're going to look on the posting we have to find out where the forum is happening.
Okay.
It's being done through social media.
Okay.
And the forums have groups that have been chosen, like
and just as such, they're chosen.
Community.
Sorry,
so you would want to go to one that you fit into, right?
Right.
I think that's why there's a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, I think so too.
Is everybody's mic on? Sorry. Does everybody have their mic on?
on.
Because otherwise it's not being picked up. Thank you.
So if you go online, if you go to the website, I did go to the website last night for PTA Council, and but the question came after the meeting, and that's why I'm asking now.
Yeah. So the different groups we had. High school. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. High school.
Well, I have
students.
the link here.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's Monday, November 3rd, district office staff. That was yesterday, I guess. So there were 4 of them that would have happened yesterday. There's several that were happening today. Elementary staff is tomorrow, maintenance is tomorrow. It's all on the.
Can you share some of the locations, Sasha? I think that's the question.
Oh, yes, ma'am. District office, finance conference room, transportation garage, Gowanna auditorium, Gowanna library. They're all different, but they're all on the
They're
website.
posted.
Yeah, and it provides the times.
It does.
It does. So
3:30 to
everything is
4:15.
everything that you would have seen here is
Yeah.
posted. Yeah.
Okay, good. I also, I did go to it last night when I was in the meeting, but when I got the question, because there was confusion, I thought it would be good to re-ask that, so we could revisit it.
But that was also the question about the times, right?
The times are listed. Yeah.
Okay, they are there.
Yeah, 6 to 7, 3:15 to 4. They're really varied.
So
if you wanna
there's
go
still
to
plenty of
one.
opportunity for people to go to those forums that haven't, that maybe weren't aware of that.
And it's right
They
off
can
the
do both. They
homepage.
can do everything, they
They-
can still
they
do a
could do the
survey,
online
they can do
survey
an open
too.
forum, they can still go to multiple, whatever, they can
Well-
take the survey multiple times.
The forms go through,
There are
the
specific
14th,
forms
the
scheduled for
14th,
community.
okay.
Yes.
But the online survey's
Through the 14th,
yeah.
so 11/3 to 11/14 are our forums scheduled, right?
Okay, yeah,
And then we all get back together, to have a conversation, and then the brochure is made. We're following the same timeline that we discussed at the October 21st meeting.
okay.
Yeah.
I did have one question about the dates in January where we're all getting together.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Can we
talk
do-
about that?
We are gonna talk about that, we're gonna do a poll, okay, good.
So, Mary Colleen, would you like to do that?
Sure, yeah.
Go ahead.
So what we did, or what I put together, is actually a Google Meet poll that I'll send the link out, and it
Okay.
has all the dates.
To the
and-
board colleagues, not to the community.
Yeah, just to
Yeah,
the
just the
board,
board.
just to the board members. And that will give you the opportunity to basically rate your preferences for those dates. There are a couple dates that were indicated, those stretches of time that were indicated, and some of those are board meetings, so we have to work around those. But otherwise, this will give us an opportunity to find the best date that will work for all the board members,
Okay.
and we'll be sending that out.
When we get to the board meeting date, I'm assuming that whole day's coming off because of what we have to discuss later on the agenda. But, so are you still including that day?
One of them I'm not able to, one of them I am offering an opportunity to meet beforehand. So it depends on what activity we're doing, because
Okay.
there's multiple activities.
I think it'll be clear when we get to, when we're talking about the new board member.
Oh, yes, yeah,
This
board-
has
yeah.
included that, yeah.
Right, but
Yeah.
it does land right in the middle of that range.
Yeah.
So,
It
okay,
does.
or towards the end of the range, okay.
Unfortunately, we're juggling several different initiatives that we gotta do,
Yeah, so a couple of other big rocks.
Yep,
So, okay, all right, thank you.
any other questions? Thank you, Mary Colleen. Okay, from there, can I get a motion to adopt an agenda? Petra's first, Naomi is second, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, so from here, we're gonna do comments. Let me read my piece. This is an opportunity for residents to address the Board of Education. The board reminds residents that the public comment portion of our meeting is only one item in a long agenda. We therefore ask that each speaker be as succinct as possible and that remarks be limited to 2 to 3 minutes. In an effort to ensure that the widest number of community viewpoints are heard, the board asks members of groups or public to withhold comment if their viewpoints have already been presented. We would also expect that residents speak in a respectful and courteous manner so as to model proper civility and decorum for our students. Comments or questions regarding a specific staff member or student are confidential and will not be allowed or addressed by the board. District residents may also send questions and comments to boe@shenschools.org. All questions, comments come into the Office of Public Information and are shared with the board and the superintendent. Policy questions, concerns are typically addressed by the board president. Operational questions, concerns are typically addressed by the superintendent and/or designee. Please provide your name in the event you are coming up and address for follow-up. At this point, I will ask the students if you'd like to go first tonight. Eric? And Senate.
Okay, hello. So for new website feedback, for my tech aerospace class today, like when the whole class opened their computers and opened the browser, and the new website just pops up and everyone's like, whoa, it's so cool. And yeah, so like, I think some of them did say like their favorite part was like all the new organization and like how everything has like their own categories now between schools. So it's definitely, they feel like it's an upgrade from before. The Tech Honor Society induction ceremony was last week, and that was very nice. It's great to see classmates being awarded for their efforts and their pursuit in the field of technology. Today, class election results ended. It was cool seeing everyone's friendly competition, running for different positions for their class. And as of this week, students are facing a lot of tests as the quarter comes to an end, so the stress is pretty high. Me myself too, I'm pretty tired. Speaking of tests, tomorrow is the AMC, the American Math Competition, so preparing for that. And then the SAT once again is this Saturday, and that is all. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. I don't have a lot to say today. It's just an update on the friendship dinner being planned by the Senate. And we have a date for this now. It's on Thursday, November 20th. So you can expect that coming. That's all.
Thank you very much.
What time is it?
I don't have an exact time on here. I can
Okay.
ask an update in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Come around to board comments, thank you very much. Petra, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Carla? Andrea?
Oh, you guys. Always torturing me. Okay.
You're the best.
I want to first recognize the schools that were recognized by the U.S. News ranking. I know that we have some of our principals here. I won't say who they are. I don't want anybody to feel bad or indifferent to this, but I did think it was worth recognizing that we have schools that are being recognized for their academic excellence. And several of them, not just a few, all of our middle schools. It was just a really, it's good to get that type of feedback. I also wanted to recognize Dr. Wilson Turner, Mr. Davis, and Mrs. Carmen for their presentation at the NISBA conference. It was really good. I did say afterwards, is there any way that you could do this here at the board table? And your response was, there's no time to give a presentation like this to the board, because it does take a lot of time, but it was really good. The school districts that attended, the superintendents that attended, they were impressed. For me, it was just knowing that we have this continuum of services for kids wherever they are, in need, right? Their needs vary by, it could be just this small window. This year they're having a bad year. It could be a family crisis, whatever it is. But the services are provided all throughout, all the way to tier 3, where the greatest need, or they could just be planning for college or talking to their counselor about course load. That to me was really good. I also liked what Mr. Davis had shared about Ellis Hospital. I didn't know that there was a service where you could walk in and a student can walk in and be treated and not be asked for insurance, that need is taken care of. That was something I was not aware of. So thank you for that. I think you had a tough time slot because you were competing with the commissioner, but it was still well attended, and I thought it was really well done. It was just very good. All I'll say, I do have a couple other comments, but I'll save them for the end. But go vote. The polls are open till 9. That's it.
Nothing for me.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna give a shout out. The annual Green and White Gala for the foundation was fantastic. We continue to grow each year, and this year was better than last year, even though last year was great. The one point I do wanna make, in 20 minutes, we raised $9,200. So that was phenomenal. And that was just the community giving. And big shout out to Mary Colleen. I do wanna make a shout out to Barb. She sent people in her stead, and she was like, what happened? So I wanna thank her for supporting the gala as well, Barb Salaker. But already planning for next year, November 7th, will be the second Saturday. We already asked for that to happen. So thank you everybody that attended. Thank you for all the support. I looked around the room that night and I could actually say, and I said to a few people, I don't know half the people here, which is a good thing. That was okay, right? Because we had new supporters, we had new people. It was grand. So I don't want to get emotional because I think I got emotional with the mic a little bit because it was such a great night for us and for our students and for our community. So thank you very much. All right, from there, we're gonna head right into the agenda. Dr. Wilson Turner.
Do you have any public comment?
Oh, public comments, do we have any? Always gotta figure something. Good, okay, anybody sitting here with us? Okay. Dr. Wilson Turner?
Good evening. A lot of my thunder has been stolen, which is wonderful. As we talk about the Green and White Gala, we talked about NISBA. I think what I would add about NISBA is we had the opportunity to hear Tim Schreiber speak about how we disagree with kindness and humanity and are able to hear the opinions of others and to see things from the perspective of others, even if it doesn't change our own perspective. And so that conversations don't get shut down. And he was talking to a room of adults, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a message that I think all of us who were in the room kind of carried back from the conference, which I thought was very powerful. Also want to publicly thank Mr. Davis and Ms. Carmen for their diligence in the preparation for their presentation and their flexibility in delivery of the presentation. They took a lot of questions from the folks that were in the room, really trying to target the information to the interest that they need. And there's a tremendous amount of resources. So even though we wouldn't be able to give the hour presentation that is delivered, the resources are available in many places. They've done a very nice job making sure it's available on the website, in a one-page document for both staff and for families, so that we are more aware about what resources are available for mental health and social emotional learning. So thank you to them for that. Eric stole my thunder about the website, but he said it much better than I could. To have kids open it and be like, wow, I think that's all Brooke needed to seal the week for her. We're very excited to launch that. So again, kudos to communications for getting us to that point where we have a space that we can use something, and we continue to look for feedback. We want to know that it's working in the way that we intend and working for people. So please continue to share both the positive and anything that we can improve. I have to talk about kindergarten every meeting, right? So this past, between last board meeting and this board meeting, we've done interest surveys for staff who may want to come to be staff at the new Early Learning Center. And we did an interest inventory for kindergarten families with kindergarten age eligible students to see how many families would have an interest who intend to register their child in December. And so in the span of 24 hours, we had over 275 responses saying we will plan to register our child for kindergarten. We'll continue to push that out. We're lucky in that we do a census in our district every 2 years, and thus we have some addresses that we could do direct mailing to, but we recognize that Clifton Park is always growing, moving, and shaking, and so we want to make sure that we're getting it out wide and far for those who may not have been in that census, so we have a sense of which families may want to come, and that we're able to provide some information that will help them to make their decision to join us for full-day kindergarten. So always a lot going on and a lot positive going on, and we will continue to move forward, so thank you to all who are leading in all the ways that we need to. And so I will turn it back over to Ms. McKenna, who is going to do our tenure recommendation.
Good evening, everyone. I have the distinct honor of presenting to you tonight Courtney Hart, special education teacher at High School West for tenure. The recommendation was prepared by Anna Contursi, our special education AA for the high school, and Ron Agostinini, high school principal. Courtney Hart has completed a 3-year probationary appointment in the special education tenure area. Courtney was hired in November of 2022 and works with students in High School West. Congratulations, Courtney, on this well-deserved recognition of your hard work and your lasting impact on our students. Courtney, could you come up and join us, please?
Congratulations. Congratulations,
Courtney. Congratulations on a good year.
Congratulations.
I'll vote on that now. Yeah, let's vote on that now. Can I get a motion to pass Courtney? No, Naomi's first. Carla second. All in favor?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Courtney.
Congratulations.
I thought Ron and they jumped him, huh? All right. So we added a piece on for tonight to talk about, on the 21st, we had acknowledged and talked about Mrs. Miller had vacated her seat on the board. So her board, I think she would have been, yeah, she would have ran again in May. So at this point, it leaves a vacancy. We do have a policy, you don't normally, we're a board of 7, right? We never You don't wanna keep a vacancy open that long because you never know if you have split votes or things like that, and it's just not good. We're a board of 7, we need to be a board of 7. To do that, there are different ways of going about to fill a vacancy on the board, okay? So at this point, we're gonna follow the existence, the board shall move to fill said vacancy within 90 days. So October 21st will bring us to January, okay? And we wanna do that because if we do not, we would incur action from BOCES. So we don't wanna do that, we have the time to do it, and along with every other thing that we're doing, we're going to take this on as well as a board, and I know we'll get through it, just like we get through everything else, and we'll be prosperous and effective in the way we do it. So, to appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy, a vote of the majority of the whole board, not just remaining members, is required to fill the vacancy by appointment. If the vacancy is filled by appointment, the new board members serve only until the next regular. So if this person is appointed, say, in February, if we do it in January, maybe we appoint in January, in February, they would have to run again in May. Okay, so they would get their petitions and have to run again in May. To the other option would be to run a special election. After I decide this, after I say this, I'm gonna just open for discussion quick before I go to the next part, because to do a special election, it would take resources, financial and physical, which I don't think anybody would agree that we have at this point to do this. We have a lot of other things, big rocks going on. So that would be the two options to do this. We do it by appointment. So it's an interview, it's a consensus by the board, and then we fill by appointment, or it's a special election. So I'm going to stop talking for a second to have my colleagues just say what they want to say, and then we'll go on and finish the conversation.
How are you going to choose who is going to be appointed?
Okay,
Is
yep,
there-
it's part of the part B of the conversation.
Yeah,
I just
do
wanted
the
to
first
see
part.
what you wanted to say about what I've just said right here.
So I think it seems to me a pretty clear decision that we don't want to expend the time and resources to do a special election for a seat that will only be taken for 4 months or 5 or whatever. So I think we're probably all in agreement that we want to do an appointment.
So I agree, and I agree that it would take time and resources, and we also have some other things that are happening right now that are gonna be demanding on resources. But also referring back to how this happened in the past. This is a little bit different, in that when it happened the last time in 2021, where we had a board member die and then another board member resigns soon after because of a family matter, it was actually still an odd board. And the fact that we have an even number makes it harder if it's a split vote. So even back then, it was an odd number. So because it is a little bit different now, it did leave me wondering because it has to be there has to be 4 in favor of the person who's elected. And back when that happened, it was unanimous. It wasn't like it was split, but it was done in a way that when we get to this, I am curious what the differences are gonna be. But it was a situation where it was an odd number. So in theory, it should have still been fine, although it would still require a 4 vote, and it did back then. In that case, we did interview in public. The interviews were at a board meeting in public. Actually, it might have been a special meeting that we held, not a business meeting, because right now, the date that's on here is our business meeting. And there were prepared questions. I don't know if we did a community forum to get those questions, but there were prepared questions. They were asked, and then we went in the back and we deliberated, and then we officially voted. And that was the process that I was gonna speak to, but it has happened in the time that we've been on this board where we've had to do this. I do think it makes a lot of sense. It also, it is for a short period of time to get us to the next election, but it does ensure the continuity of this board. We do need to have 7 members to make sure that we're in those situations where we're not all on the same page, that we can still move forward. And that's, I think, what's being proposed here tonight, I support for a non-special election.
Andrew, Mary Conley, any thoughts?
I also support, you know, it doesn't seem to make any sense for us to call a special election. And I think that we can come together as a board. We've done, you know, many interesting and different things, and I think we can handle this as well, you know, appointing someone.
Same. Yeah, do we send out communications to people in the community?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
Naomi set the on-ramp for me, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on with that. Carla, are you good with what the thought
Oh,
is?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next part of the conversation then becomes, as Naomi was talking, 2 years ago, and I mentioned this on the 21st too, the last time we did go through this, it was an interesting concept. The concept was good, I think the delivery of it was a little wonky, and it led to some bias, which I had noted before because of the grading system. So that's what I was trying to figure out, what we did exactly last time, and I kinda wanna share that with the board this time, so we avoid that. And that the path to a decision is clear and concise and effective. So that will be coming, but also with this conversation, if we're going, it sounds like we're going the appointment, that's great. Again, we're on a time frame. We're in another time frame to do other big rocks, so we'll be on a time frame for this as well, 90 days. So December 16th, we're hoping, and again, we will share more of this with the board when we get it. We'll be asking for what we did last time. We're gonna follow the same rule, it makes sense, right? Letters of interest, resumes, everything that you would kind of do if you were running for a board seat anyway, that's what you would probably give forward. So we'll have a due date, and it looks like December 16th for the resumes and letters of interest. We'll give exactly where that's going to go, we'll make that very public, share that with the board, and so on. Does anybody have any concerns about that?
Are you gonna give some direction on what you want them to write? Or they could just take a piece of paper and write? I'm interested.
You know, well, we're gonna stick to what, if you're running for the board, you have to be in you know, you've had to live here for a year. I mean, we have certain rules that you're running for a
That's
board,
what
so
I'm
those count, again. And then, you know, they won't know the questions we're going to ask them, but
Right.
why do you wanna
Just
run
the-
for the
the
board? You
rules,
kinda wanna
yeah.
you wanna have their interest in their resume, so.
I don't think we're gonna exclude anyone
No.
at this point, yeah.
No, you don't exclude
So
it.
if they just put, I'm interested, then
You have to
they're a
interview.
candidate.
Yeah, I mean, we had, 8 or 9 when we went through it the last time, am I
Yeah.
right?
You required a resume.
Yes, you have to have the resume, yes.
You have to
Yeah.
have something.
interest.
Okay, so you could be excluded if you don't, there's a minimum criteria in addition to being, establishing that you've been a resident for more than a certain amount of time, yeah,
Yeah.
30 days or.
Yeah, a year.
A year, okay.
Mhm.
And the only other thing, this is actually going back to my comment earlier, is that what if it isn't a 4 vote? What if there isn't 4 in favor? What happens then?
We re-vote until somebody votes.
Till we get there, yeah, I have to
So
agree with Petra.
do we, but what if nothing changes?
Then we re-vote until somebody gets there, right?
We have to come to a consensus. I mean, we've done it, we can do it, I believe we can do it.
So, as far as, I didn't know that, because there is procedure for example, when you're voting for officers, what happens if it's tied or let's say someone abstains and then it's not a unanimous decision. And so that I just wanted to think through and was wondering what are the next steps if something like that were to happen. I don't envision it's going to happen because we're, but also with last time, and you used the phrase a little wonky, and that's some of that I was thinking about what happened last time and what we would do differently this time. Would we deliberate in public?
We should have deliberated in public before.
Yes, okay, thank you. I think that would be good, and then we're gonna vote in public.
We're gonna vote in public.
Okay, because I think the voting was confidential.
It was,
Okay,
it was,
Alright.
and the grading system, that's what got you, was the grading system and how that happened. And it was you could skew, I'm not saying this, but it's the grading system didn't give to an open process, if you will, in my opinion. I mean, that's how I felt about it.
well, I mean, that's true, although it was said at the time that discussion could follow, but there wasn't a lot of discussion to follow.
have a lot of discussion.
Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
So that would be, and it would be in public, and that, I think it's important for people to know that, okay?
So I think, the method of voting makes a big difference in how this will go. Because we could go around and say, you know, everyone vote for your favorite, or we could put somebody up for a yes or no.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, the yes or no is much less likely to incur a concern with being less than 4, right? But if there's 8 candidates and we each pick one, that's a problem.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I think that needs to be decided in
Yeah,
advance.
I gotta I wanna flush, I wanna
Yeah.
see gotta see what we did before, and then it'll give me
Yeah,
a
and
better
there are
direction to
certain
think.
qualifications
Yeah.
that, you know, minimal requirements, when the person, you know, not that we're excluding, but there are minimal requirements for, you know, paperwork and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But-
Residency.
But in that scenario, they would not be at the table answering the questions, correct? If
They
if
wouldn't
they
get
didn't
that
meet the
far.
minimum requirements.
Right.
If they were like 16 and lived in Schenectady, right, like that.
Yeah,
You
no.
wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
That would not be a
That's what I
minimum
asked
requirement,
why.
okay.
They had something to go on before, because anybody can say, I wanna be on board, that's great, but if they have something to go on, they say, oh, that doesn't count me, I can't do that.
Well,
You
you
know,
can't, you wanna be so prescriptive, right?
No,
We
but
have general
They have to know
ruling,
that there's.
yeah, we have
there's
general
meetings
rules
are
that people need to
yes,
follow, right?
Expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's
so I think getting back to Petra's comment was that, is it, we're going to ask a question, wait for the answers, and then go around? Or, so, I mean, I guess just thinking through,
I think everybody's
Yeah.
gonna, I envision, I don't know, I gotta look again, I envision everybody being interviewed, you gotta interview everybody, so everybody has a level playing field, and from there, then we decide how we're going to deliberate and vote.
Yeah. If we interview in public, I would maybe, I don't know, do we do the vote the next time, right, to let people think about it, or do we do it immediately?
no, we did it immediately last time. I want to say after each
It was-
person we voted, so that
Yeah, you
the
had
others
a
did not
grading system.
influence.
You had
I
a
mean,
grading
obviously,
system.
there's,
Yeah,
I don't think it was, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it could definitely be done better.
Yep.
So,
there's opportunities.
so,
I just wanna say for the record, I don't think that our policy requires us to do it within 90 days. I read it that if we are to do a special election, that would be 90 days, but otherwise, we sort of are not constrained by that time period, but I like the time period, and I wanna go forward with the time period, if for 91 days, I don't think that we're not abiding by the policy.
I
Yes,
think,
our board policy.
yeah. I think what happens is, I think BOCES gets a little,
They get it.
they feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable if we
Sure.
hit a certain time frame and you want.
Exactly.
And we wanna stay away from the budget, again, stay away from the
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
people have enough time to lead up, time to get going.
okay, but so to that point, could we go one more board meeting out so that we're off of the ones that have to do, that impact the interim, the superintendent search?
Am I
Just-
making it too tight?
Oh, she's worried about, I don't know. I think it depends a lot on whether or not we do the interviews
Okay.
and the vote in the
And
same
how,
night.
where are you at? I gotta see where we're at with the budget talks and everything, cause March will
Oh, March
get
is,
going. Yeah, March is gone.
Yeah.
we can't have,
February
really
is-
February
So-
we get started.
So we
Yeah.
did it as a special meeting, didn't we, last time? I don't recall it being
Oh.
on a board night. I
It
recall
was,
it being,
it was a board night?
You held it during executive session. So rather than have an executive session.
well, we couldn't hold a public, interview in executive session.
You called me.
They were virtual. Everybody was virtual.
They
All right,
came up to the front.
Andrew was there.
They were asked the questions by Kelly DeFisciani.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got a
I had a
moderator.
timer
Mhm.
for 3 minutes. They were asked the questions, and the next candidate was escorted in.
Okay,
They went out into the holding area. One by one, they all came into the room. They answered all the same questions, all in the same order, and then they all went out. Then the whole entire board went back into the conference room for executive session to discuss all of the candidates, fill out your grids, do your scoring, came out with your decision, and it was announced right then and there, and then he was sworn in.
Did we swear him in that night? That part I don't remember. Okay,
So if you think about Joseph Weber was sworn in that.
okay, and Jason.
there were
And
two
Jason
two
Giuliani.
just sworn in.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Earlier.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll do that.
all right. But we could do it as a special meeting so that it doesn't, I mean, that must have been a long board meeting.
It was.
Yeah, it had to have been.
Just dedicated to
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a business meeting, as I recall.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we could,
I think, I just, you know, we can talk about it, but the sooner we can get going,
Yeah.
there's just so many other things.
And
We're gonna
as
take
long
our
as
time.
BOCES knows that we have a plan, I think they won't, they're not gonna come forward and intervene or to say, it's time for us now to appoint someone.
Just to be clear, I want it done.
Yeah, I think,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm sorry if I suggested by my statement that we have
But you
all
wanna
the
give
time
this
in the
person
world.
time if they're running, that they wanna run, I mean, you
Yeah.
flip them around, you know, March you get petitions, in May you have to run, you wanna give somebody some time to acclimate,
Yeah.
see if they wanna do this, and then move on.
And
No,
similarly, you want them to acclimate and be ready for the budget
Budget.
conversation.
I completely agree. I'm only thinking 1 week. I was just thinking of taking it off of that particular night because of what else is happening at that time.
I understand, but
That's
there
my
is so much
suggestion.
happening, so
Yeah.
to add another week, I think is also putting a lot on
Yeah.
people too, in my opinion.
And some of those things are happening, they're not happening, you know, at the actual board meetings. They're they're
Right.
separate, they're separate meetings.
Well, and to your point, we haven't picked those dates. It might
That's right.
not impact that night at all.
That's right.
And maybe knowing that would end this conversation.
Yeah.
Everything would be moved.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
But
you'll be
we
able
just don't
to-
know.
We'll be knowing that soon.
Okay, all
Mhm.
right. Good to know.
All right, so we have a direction. I thank you for your indulgence on that, and more to come. Okay. I'm gonna give the floor back to you, Dr. Wilson-Turner.
Thank you. So next we have Mr. Labar and Mr. Gastononi, who are going to come and present on a potential process for selecting a new mascot. Now, you may remember our wonderful student senate brought it to our attention that they were ready for that conversation and wanted some student involvement in the selection of having a new mascot for our high school. And so bringing that information back, Mr. A and Mr. Labar have been pulling some things together for your consideration. So Matt's going to come forward at this point.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us a chance to have a conversation with you and with the public. I know that the board is well aware, of course, but just to share with the public a little bit of the background. It was some time ago that we received a directive by New York State Education that the Plainsman mascot and name needed to be deleted. So that process has been underway for some time through purchasing cycles, through removal of the emblems, and that was been quite a task, but we're pretty close to having accomplished that. Just since my time in the AD position, I've been approached and had conversations with many people informally who have expressed interests and questions. I think people are curious and wondering where the mascot process will be going in the future. So I think there is interest from stakeholders in general. And then as Dr. Wilson-Turner mentioned, I know that recently some of our students, especially representing the SFA Senate, brought forth the idea that we should start exploring a process. So what I did first was I did reach out to get some feedback and information from some of our suburban colleagues, because we do have several schools in the league, in the Suburban Council League, that have gone through the same process, who have been forced or have chosen to remove their mascot and their logo and their imagery, and have gone through various processes of their own to select a new logo and a mascot. So I was able to get some valuable feedback and information about how they executed their processes, and we certainly, considered some of that, as well as some of the lessons that they shared, that difficulties they had, things that went well from our suburban colleagues. So with that, as well as conversations and information from other stakeholders, we put together what is very much a draft suggestion at this point. So that's the first thing that I want to mention. Right in red on that first page is the word draft for a reason. This is kind of just a first initial thought about where this process might be able to go. I've had a chance to talk over and share this presentation with Dr. Wilson-Turner, with Brooke in communications for some feedback from them, and also recently in a brief conversation with the DLST team. And so we were asked to come to talk to you, the board, and share with the public some of the thoughts that we have about how we might be able to move forward. The first thing is, I think that we all feel that there should be representation or input received from all stakeholders. That's one of the big key things that we think will be, of course, central to this process is that we want to make sure everyone feels that they have a voice and that they have an input in this process, from parents to students, faculty, staff, administration, board members, et cetera. That being said, you do need a single body, in our opinion, a committee, a group, a core group of individuals to gather that information, process that information, represent those various stakeholders so that the process can be organized and orderly. And so the intention of the mascot committee, the purpose of the committee would be to collect that input and feedback from all those different stakeholder groups, some directly from them as representatives of stakeholders, but also through some other means that we'll talk about in just a little bit. In order to ultimately, the goal of that committee would be to come up with a suggestion, a recommendation, and again, that's a key thing here, that all of this process and work that we're describing would be to come up with a recommendation to the board for their approval, which would be, of course, the final step. Things that committee could or would be tasked with would be coming up with a mascot name or identity, a logo creation and imagery to match that mascot name or identity, possibly some steps or ideas or vision towards a branding strategy to implement that logo and that mascot moving forward. And again, like any committee that's created in the district, I think that it's always central to keep in mind that they should make sure to continue to support the mission and vision of the district, make sure that the work they're doing is aligned with the board goals and things like that. So again, looking to keep the committee reasonable in size, but certainly representative of all the various stakeholders, and looking to have that committee use several other means to gather additional feedback from a wider group of stakeholders so that they can consider not just the folks at the table, but also all of the stakeholders that they represent. Mr. A is going to talk to us a little bit about the committee composition and some of the key goals or ideas that committee would focus on.
Okay, so and Mr. LeBaire put a lot of this together, so I thank him for doing that and reaching out to the other ADs as he mentioned. But when we looked at our committee, you could see the names on the screen there. Obviously the athletic director, and he would have a key component kind of leading and facilitating it. I would be involved as a co-facilitator. And then you could see all the other folks. We have everyone involved, but we can't have everyone involved, if that makes sense. So we have students involved, although we can't bring 9,400 students into a room and say, what do you think? So we will work with students. It will be obviously FSA Senate, they're a leadership group here. Mr. LeBaire and I meet with a bunch of other student leaders that are from clubs, leaders of clubs and athletic teams, so they would have some input. So we will have to parse out how we get input from all students, whether it's elementary students per building, or, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do that. That's gonna be part of the fun as we do this, because this is something that's gonna hopefully live on for a long time. And you can see the other folks on there. Parents, Mr. LeBaire had a really good idea, like we have Booster Club parents that are heavily involved with stuff, so we thought we could lean on them to kind of give some representation. Plus we could have open forums and have people kind of come in. But as was stated, really we have to have one committee to kind of get all that information in, or else we're gonna go nowhere fast. We'll get a lot of ideas and not really get moving in the process. So that's the idea of the committee. And if you move on, some like the key goals there, Dr. Wilson Turner, you can see these are things like define community. If you go around Clifton Park, you'll notice menus have things named after our former logo. Like you can buy a Plainsman sandwich. There are different restaurants that have different rooms named after. So that's real important that we bring a symbol of the community here, because it does spread out. It's not just about us on this campus. It's really about the community. We thought some historical connection is nice. You could take a new logo or mascot out of thin air, but it's nice when there's some connection to where we are. And then the designs, we think it's real important having an inspiring design. And we'll talk a little bit about, I think Ms. Lovera mentioned, like getting some graphic designs. Like we have that here, and then maybe going to professionals to kind of really kind of see what we can get so it's inspiring. People want to wear it. I know when we switched logos to our previous one, it was like really trying to make it collegiate in terms of logos. So we really want to inspire people, and it's going to live on. The idea is like this will be the logo for all of us. However, at some point it'll be the next generation of board members, administrators, next generation of students that will have this logo. So those are some key components we're looking at. And the timeline of events is, it seems long, but it's kind of quick. We're kind of trying to get a lot done in a short period of time. So Lucas, you want to kind of
Yeah, and again, the timeline here is very much a draft. There's already a few things that, you know, we've had conversations about possibly having to switch up. But basically, to start on the left there of the timeline, our hope is that if this is approved and something that folks agree to move forward with, we could get started this winter with creating and selecting a committee, and then using that committee to carry out some more feedback solicitation, so to speak. And two ideas that we had for that was a survey, a stakeholder survey that could go out to all different various parties, be open to a wide variety of people to offer input, but then also having some smaller focus groups keyed in on maybe some of the stakeholder groups that weren't as represented at the committee. So for example, a focus group for parents, for students, for staff, and maybe for alumni as well. And the committee could kind of help run those to allow folks to come into those focus groups, offer some direct feedback to the committee, in addition to the survey, which would hopefully bring a wide variety of feedback from many folks. So starting in the winter, forming the committee, having some meetings, putting out a survey, and getting those focus groups scheduled as we move through the bulk of the winter. As we end the winter and move towards spring, the idea was for the committee, using all of that feedback and information as a group, to try to come up with and narrow down to a couple of selections of mascot or logos that they would all be comfortable with. Because again, the idea then would be eventually to go to a vote, to allow the greater Shen community to vote for a final selection of the logo. In talking to some of our partners in the Suburban Council, some of them had approached it in a similar fashion, where they had a stakeholder group using all kinds of input to come up with a couple of selections that they were very comfortable with, and then allowing for a vote to select that from the greater Shen community. Others had solicited input to generate the choice that was going to be made from the beginning, and that was problematic, is the feedback we got, because there's just so many different ideas out there. And so we really did feel that taking in the large amount of feedback and ideas from the greater community and having the committee whittle that down to a couple of key choices that everyone felt they could be comfortable with, and putting that out to a vote. So during the spring, the idea was to continue to meet and to come up with 2 or 3 options. It would be an ideal number that would be put out for a vote at a later time. And also, one idea that came forth that I think would be a great one is, during that initial process of coming up with a couple of selections to be voted on, asking some of our internal groups and students and classes and teachers to work on creating some mock-up images of what those mascots and logos might look like. And that would simply be as a means of giving a better representation to the larger group to vote on. So I know that some of our graphic arts classes here at the high school have done work like that for actual businesses looking for graphic arts projects for marketing. So the idea was hopefully involving some internal Shen groups to come up with some mock images that could be used as part of that voting process. The idea was hopefully by late spring to have that voting process occur. And then when we look at phase 6 and 7, this is one that in looking back at it, we may want to flip-flop the order of those. But the idea here would be, as we approach late spring, early summer, we would want to present what had been selected as the final choice to the board for their consideration and their approval. And then probably, again with that switch, working to solicit a professional vendor to do a final image and logo based on that approval by the board. Because I don't think that we would want to hire a vendor and have that professional work done until, of course, it was approved by the board. And again, depending on the creations that internal group made for the voting process, it might be that the professional vendor's task is simply to take that imagery that's been mocked up by the student or teacher groups and just kind of finalize it, or it might be a decision to have them come up with some other options that could be considered for the final image. Then finally, if that process was followed and we had an approval by the board by early summer, then we could spend the bulk of the summer planning the rollout and planning the implementation of the mascot and the logo. And we really thought that if we could stick to this timeline, that the fall season of homecoming and the beginning of fall sports would be a great time to plan some celebrations and some unveiling events and really kind of get that excitement started for the new mascot and logo. And then, of course, the last phase there is just throughout the following school year and even beyond, really, would be the process of, continuing to launch the brand, legal matters in terms of looking at trademark processes, and continuing into the future to slowly replace our uniform signage, things like that, with the new logo, which would take some time, and we'll talk about that just a little bit more on the last slide. But just like it took us quite a while to delete the Plainsman, so to speak, it would certainly take us a little while to incorporate that new logo and mascot into everything that we have visually and digitally and in communications and things that represents the district.
And as Lucas just mentioned, with when we eliminated some of the Plainsman stuff, there was funding implications. So if we want to rebrand, create a new logo, new mascot, there's some funding implications there. Not enormous, but I think we need to be prepared to be ready to roll it out, whether that's apparel or signage or gym floors. I mean, all those kind of things that we had, I think is vital, or else we will create a mascot and we'll have it, but I think we really want to take it, like the students, they want it to take off. We want it to become an identity, so that's going to be part of the process, talking about how we do that, how we do it in a way that's fiscally responsible, but also spreads it wide and far. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. That will come as we go. We just want you to be mindful that that will be part of the process that we'll have to spend a little bit of money to really kind of spread this and get it going for everyone once a new logo mascot is selected. I know uniforms, that's kind of like in your ballpark there.
And I think to Ron's point, there would be some initial costs, because we would like to have, kind of a grand unveiling with some imagery and some signage and things like that.
I think we need a new mascot,
new mascot costume. But a lot of the costs could be incurred over time through our normal replacement processes. So, when we go through equipment and uniform obsolescence planning and purchasing, that's something that certainly could happen over a cycle of a few years. Some of the work of kind of spreading this imagery is not real cost heavy, but maybe a little bit of time and work heavy in terms of website updating and communications and digital releases, media releases, things like that. Communicating the changes to the Suburban Council, Section 2, NISPA, et cetera, especially on the sports side of things. But again, I think it's something that could definitely be done with a small investment right at the start, and then just an ongoing process that's typically already budgeted for in a lot of different ways.
It's stuff that we do already. I mean, if you look around this library, the way it's branded, Shem does a really good job of that. So we want that to continue if this process moves forward.
And I will say, as much as it's been kind of a pause and a lot of questions being asked, the idea that over the last few years we've shifted to just the Shen logo is actually a nice thing for this process, because the addition of the mascot and the logo doesn't interfere with that, regardless of what it is. And so, you do want to get that image out and get that message out, but you can also very much have the Shen that we've been putting everywhere exist still. So new gym floors that we just put Shen on, we wouldn't necessarily need to mess with, but if we have floors that are coming up for a refurbishing anyways, we could add the new logo and then just incorporate that into the process moving forward.
Luke, I believe a lot of our uniforms have gone to
Yep, I only have a few teams left that still have any trace of Plainsman or the horse. Most of them have shifted to just the simple Shen logo, which is fine until they live their life, and then certainly a lot of our teams would probably be excited to get into a new logo or mascot if it is something that moves forward. Any questions or concerns that maybe I can try to help address at this early stage?
Go ahead.
I didn't have anything.
Oh, okay. So the only thing that worries me is, we get all the way through this and then SED comes back and says, oh, wait. Is it possible to share early on what our suggestions are? Because, for example, because this happened when we were on the board, the headdress we were told was what we were told, you gotta take the headdress off the green stallion, and it's good. And then, was it 9 months later, we were told, nope, Plainsman's gotta go too. And so, let's say the green horse is still, it becomes the mascot, and then SED comes back and says, oh wait, we thought you got rid of that too. And so, is there any way that we can run this by them to make, because they hold the cards, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
okay.
you make a good point. I think early on in the formation of that committee, one of the things that committee would have to do is research and share amongst themselves, what the requirements are, what's allowed and what's not, and ensure that any of those selections that they were making as some of the possible choices definitely clearly fit that criteria and would not be an issue. So I think making sure the committee understands the rules and regs from the state ed, and making sure that their decisions are steered away from anything that might be in the gray area, so to speak.
And I was
Definitely.
privy to some of those conversations, so I believe we
Yeah.
still have the same contact
Okay.
at the state education department, so I think we would go to that person's office, whoever the contact is,
Okay.
and engage them early.
I-
Good point.
Just to be tied to what Naomi said is about trademark. I know in the past, in just my personal experiences of, finding out early on, like if there's any, trademark infringement sort of situations, because there are so many, like the use of a horse is
Yep.
used all over the place, but if it looks too close or whatever, that sort of thing. But I think this plan is amazing, and I love the idea of having that committee that's representative, but then going out to the public. I love the idea of also making sure that alumni are included, because I feel like they were so passionate about this whole subject area, so I think that it's a great plan. And I think it's really well thought out, and I think the timeline is about right. It's you don't want, people will start to get frustrated if it goes too long. They want a decision, they want to be able to see this happen, so I think it really looks great.
And it's, what's nice is student driven.
Yeah.
If we want things, if I said, we want this, but it's the students, so that's
Yeah.
really like the driving force.
I was just gonna say that, I really commend you guys. I mean, Maddie was up here 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago asking about this,
Yeah.
and the very next board meeting, you're not only responding, but you have a plan, and it's
Yeah.
a really good plan.
Yeah.
So
Thank
thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. And just to respond to your comment, I do think, that it's a good idea throughout the process to kind of involve, whether it be our legal counsel or reaching out to some folks that can provide some clarity, because you make a good point. There's a lot of college teams and NFL
Yeah.
teams and other organizations that have different logos to make sure that nothing that we're starting to move forward with
Yeah.
would interfere or pose problems.
Just
Or if
earlier.
it does, we could adjust it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point, though.
Perfect.
Any other comments or concerns? Great, thank you for your
Good job,
time,
guys.
appreciate it.
Love to hear
Thanks.
it. Exciting.
Okay. So as we just referenced, budget season will shortly be upon us. And so we're going to take a few minutes and go through our budget development calendar. What I will say, just very publicly, it is incredibly helpful and really important to us as an organization that this document exists under leadership of Kathy Wetmore Chase and our previous superintendent, Dr. Robinson, having a document that captures not just the dates and the to-do list, but really the legal parameters in which things have to occur, all laid out in this particular timeline has been really important. And so you'll see the first date on our budget calendars today. And we started actually with our principals meeting this morning, reviewing the budget process, because as you know, all of our district leaders, building principals, academic administrators have a large role to play in helping to outline the instructional and operational budget for the district. And so each of our groups, our principals, our DLS team members, our academic administrators are all listed in the month of November to have an overview of this document and access, and strongly recommended to star this document so that they're able to keep track of where they fall in the process in their roles and responsibilities. But really, we began this month just starting to have them brainstorm about what some potential big rocks are, even though I can't imagine anything other than a kindergarten center and the amount of investment it's gonna take. We've been very clear about the fact that even though we have big projects coming on board, like the Early Learning Center, we still have to continue to plan forward using our 3-year to 5-year trajectories. We don't wanna be just thinking blindly. We wanna make sure that we're thinking about as much as we can now and continue to plan for those things, even if they can't be done in this year's budget. And so you'll see the preliminary budget assumptions, expectations, and key objectives. We start with some key questions to our leaders and ask them to consider those things as they recommend ideas for what we should consider in our budget process, to ensure that we are, as always, able to sustain the quality of program that we have in our school district without extreme peaks or valleys in our students' experience. So the majority of November is focused on getting up and running with that budget process and starting our big idea thinking. At the next board meeting on November 18th, we will have our enrollment projections forecast by CDPRC, Capital District Regional Planning Committee. I'm always really proud when I remember what all those letters say and say them in the right order, because for a while I wasn't there. And remember, they'll provide an overview of our enrollment forecast based on birth statistics, as well as our current enrollment data that we provide internally in an effort to project enrollment for the coming school year. And they also do a nice job of showing our actual enrollment versus what they projected the previous year to see how closely we are on target, as well as how the surrounding community is growing and may potentially impact our enrollment projections. And so that enrollment information, as you well know, drives everything else around the budget. Based on the number of students that we have to serve, the number of programs that we are attempting to maintain will significantly determine what we actually present in our budget later in the school year. So then internally, our work really begins in December. Our building leaders and district leaders will get what we call our budget forms, our budget B forms, to begin making requests around staffing, equipment, minor capital improvements that need to happen in the schools and in departments, as well as supplies, so that we then are able to take all of that information over the course of December, and then meetings that Ms. McKinnon will have over the course of January with building leaders and academic administrators to review those requests, as well as instructional materials requests, and curriculum resource requests that may be needed, all to be pulled together by the end of January, early February, where we then will have a better idea of what our key budget assumptions are, so no longer preliminary, but beginning to identify what those key big rocks that we will bring forward, and then we begin to work in the background to work what we are able to carry forward in the budget. Late in January, we hope to have a governor's state aid proposal, and we know that we'll have multiple state aid proposals as we go throughout the budget process. And we'll begin to develop the budget roadshow schedule, which thank you in advance to Vanessa and all of our leaders who will coordinate making sure that we're able to get to every school faculty meeting, every school PTA, and multiple community organizations throughout the area to ensure that we are able to educate our voters, who will then go out and educate other voters about what we are actually trying to do each year with our budget. Then February, we should have our mid-year projection. So again, going back to our early conversation about when we bring on a new board member, it is really important that the person is in the seat, if at all possible, at the beginning of this process when we start having these conversations at the budget table, so they can be as informed about where we started and how we get to where we get to at the end of the budget as possible. We will continue our internal discussions around the budget recommendations with our staff internally. And we will then have a sense of what our growing tax base is, hopefully in mid-February, which will have implications for what funds we have available to support our budget and our upcoming investments. In February, you'll see our tax levy limit calculation due to our state comptroller. And so again, as you start to look at this document, you go to March, there are deadlines that are built in straight from the regulations around what we need to do, which made it very easy for me to pick it up and continue to make sure that we were in alignment. And then Ms. Wetmore Chase also reviews with legal to make sure nothing has changed in our regulations and that we're doing everything in alignment with what we're required to do to approve the budget. So March begins the board meetings of budget conversations, and so we will have a budget presentation at every board meeting in March, and that is outlined here with the different components that will be presented at that point in time. And just to keep going, our goal is to have a draft budget proposal in front of the board by March 24th, and by April 2nd to have the adopted budget reviewed. Noted also here are some publication requirements that we are required to do if we have any resolutions coming forward, and we will anticipate some resolutions this year, just as every other year. As we've already mentioned, we will have a new board seat that's up for election, and potentially some issues, some things that we'll need to do around bus purchases in alignment with our requirements there. And then April, again, first 4 publications for legal notice. So again, we have these dates that help trigger and ensure that we're doing things within the timeline. We will begin to have a budget one-pager available for our budget roadshow so that our participants are able to walk away with a single piece of paper telling them everything they need to be able to tell everyone else about all the wonderful things that we are trying to do in our budget. And then we will continue to do the final budget proposal and adoption for all propositions. An April 14th board meeting. Then we continue to review with all of our parties again. So you'll see each and every time we do something new in our budget process or change something in the budget presentation, we go back to our internal community, our building leaders, our district leaders, to ensure that they understand what's in the budget and are also able to be that vehicle for communication for our district. Board nominating petitions are due on April 21st, which is 30 days prior to the vote date. Then we have our deadline for military absentee ballots, and believe it or not, we had to have a thought about what goes on the return envelope, as to whether or not we're in our new location or not, and we are going to be staying put, we hope, at least through that point in time, so that we have a place for those to go and can begin to order the supplies that we need for that component. Draft budget newsletter. Budget newsletter is very important. That is how we communicate to our public in writing in a user-friendly form, what they need to know about the budget, and that needs to be prepared and executed no later than 24th day before the budget vote. Our final budget newsletter will be sent to BOCES, and then it goes to our mailing house, and then it gets into our homes within 7 days of the budget vote. And recognition of board candidates in late April, and a lot of concrete deadlines that we meet that really come from regulations throughout the month of May that ultimately bring us to our budget vote day on May 19th, and then our analysis of the budget on May 26th. So a very comprehensive document that really we should all have saved that are involved in the budget process to ensure that we're able to execute each piece in accordance with the appropriate timeline. Questions? Okay, we will ask Ms. Carmen to come forth for policy.
Good evening. I need to lower that. It's on. You guys see me okay? Better than you did? Yeah, it's
Is it?
on. I'll talk loud.
Do you
No,
want,
you need a mic, or else YouTube can't hear you.
All right, can you hear me now? So tonight we have policies being presented for first reading that went forth at October policy review meeting. These policies, you'll notice in this batch, there's a lot of safety related policies, but one in particular that I want to point out that we pulled forward this month to review and bring forward was the policy 8140, which is bring your own device. We updated it to reflect the changes and be in alignment with the new cell phone policy. And that's the last item on the actual agenda that I have there for you. Any questions? All right, thank you.
thanks, Becky.
Thank you.
We're gonna head into consent items. The first one is the treasurer's report. Can I get a motion? Petra's first, Naomi is second. Any comments? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Minutes from October 7th and 21st. If you were not here, it's okay. I think we all were. So can I get a motion? Andrea's first, Mary Colleen is second. Comments? All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Then moving to our action items, first one, certification of the uncollected taxes. Well, I think we have to all sign this document. We have several pieces of paper tonight that each piece of paper needs to be signed. Certifying the uncollected taxes. Can I get a motion? Carla is first. Mary Colleen is second. Any comments?
Just to be clear, so what this is us allowing Saratoga County to
pursue,
collect on our behalf.
collect on our behalf, correct. Okay. All in favor? Motion passes. The tax tertiary settlement. This was a legal proceeding that had with Snyder's restaurant on the Clifton Park side. Bruce Tansky, we settled for $5,603. Can I get a motion? Carla's first. Andrea's second. Any comments? All in favor? Motion passes. Third, municipal cooperative agreement. This is for us to work with our neighboring schools. More buying power, right, for diesel fuel and gas. So it's a good thing, we want that, can I get a motion? Mary Colleen is first, Petra is second, any comments? All in favor? Motion passes, thank you very much. Very extensive listing here, approval of our ECA clubs, non-cash clubs and classroom accounts. Every year we do need to see this. What do we do, twice a year or once a year?
We do
At least twice. Twice, isn't it?
at least, and then we may have some additional that come in
As
after
come
this.
along, yeah, as we add. Okay, can I get a motion? Petra's first, Naomi is second, any comments?
It's
I'd
wonderful
love to see as it grows, yeah, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. Pages and pages of
Yeah.
class, that's great.
Yep. All in favor? Motion passes. Health services contract, this is the one, I think this is the one is this the one we talked about tonight? No, this is the one, no, I'm sorry, this is the one where we have private school, where our students go to private school, and we have to, make sure equity is there, and we are able to provide those services that is listed. So, can I get a motion? Carla's first, Petra is second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion passes. The scholarship and local grant donations, I believe, United Way, Carrigan for $40. Gratitude, can I get a motion? Carla's first, Mary Colleen is second.
We all want that, we're gonna get the money for the
Right,
kids.
it's $40. All in favor? Motion passes. And then number 7, that was acted upon, that was added tonight, the contractual services that we needed to do. We talked about it earlier, for Natalia Martinez for speech therapy, special ed. Can I get a motion? Naomi's first, Andrea's second. Any comments? All in favor? Motion passes. Ms. Hazelton will come up. Acceptance of special education placements.
Good evening. I present for you the special education placement recommendations.
If you want, like.
Thank you, Eric.
Kids review, okay.
Would have been musical mics walking around the table.
Good evening. I present for you the special education placement recommendations.
Any comments? Okay. Can I get a motion? Petra's first, Naomi is second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Bree. Okay. Ms. McCann is making her way up to, in the stead of Jenny Galea, for approval of staffing recommendations.
So on behalf of Jenny, who could not be here tonight, I present to you the staffing recommendations and the agenda. Most of the agenda is for the appointment of coaching staff and club advisors for extracurricular activities. We do have 7 resignations and no retirements. Any questions? Very good, because we have to defer to Dr. Wilson.
Can I get a motion? Andrew is first, Carla is second. All in favor? Motion passes, thank you. And Mrs. Carmen coming back up for the second time, second, for policies and procedures.
Yeah, so, presenting September's policy review, agenda items that went for first reading last month are going for second reading this month. Are there any questions regarding any of those?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Can I get a motion? Naomi's first, Carla is second. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you so much. Do we have anybody in the public here tonight that want to come back around for public comments? Yeah, Senate?
Yeah, I'd just like to bring up a previous topic, about the cords.
Cords, I was thinking about it when they
Yeah.
talked about the mascot, because they came at the same time. But I am advocating for that, because I think it's great with all these clubs that we have.
So do we have any new updates about the cords coming up? If there's like, anything about the policies of what qualifies, what clubs qualify to give out cords at graduation?
So we don't typically respond to public
We
comment.
don't.
However,
I would, because we
it is noted, and Mr. Agostinoni and I have had some conversation about that process, and I believe there are 2 high school administrators who meet with SFA, and I think our starting point was what would be the qualifying factors that would distinguish a club for a particular club, because, or for a chord, because I think there was a question about, or recommendation around clubs that do service or provide some service to the larger school community. So I do believe it's an ongoing conversation to have with SFA and the high school leadership at this point in time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Having known Vanessa, you don't have anybody, right? You seem to-
No.
Excellent, thank you so much. All right, then moving to, for the good of the order. Anybody have anything else they wanna add on tonight?
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate that Tech Honor Night was fantastic. There are so many kids, and that just shows, right? I mean, just filled the stage, and felt very lucky to be there, and really enjoyed celebrating everybody. Also, I will say again that the play is this week. So I'm going on Thursday. I hope everybody gets tickets. Yeah.
Friday.
I'll tell you, it's hysterical. I saw, Act One, Scene One,
Oh, nice.
is one of the scenes from the scenes that they did.
Yeah.
I was laughing from the beginning, I couldn't stop. It just goes on, and it's wonderful, so please go see the play if you can.
We have a lot of talent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, my goodness, wonderful.
And I also, I guess I wanted to say my extreme gratitude that New York State does not run school board elections on the same day as political elections. Because there are some states in the country where they're on the same day, and I just feel like that is so negative. And we are all elected without political parties, and it should stay that way. But at the same time, if you haven't already voted, go vote. It's really easy, really easy and fast. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just had one other thing I wanted to mention about the Shenendehowa Foundation Gala. The thing that was really exciting to see was how many of the Shen community, the talents associated with, the Shen community, they all have, a night gig, or they're doing something additional, or, Ray stepped up and helped us, it really was exciting and thrilling to see how many talented people came together to really make that happen, and, kudos, Deanna, once again, you and Bob did it, and Presley did a phenomenal job, so a great event.
Couldn't have done without you, friend, so thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt again, but saying Bob reminded me, and also Veterans Day is coming up, right, of course. So, we're having a Veterans 5K, that morning, and if you're a veteran, you get it free. The code is, I'll tell you the code, if you're a veteran. And then the Monday, I think we're having several celebrations.
It's Friday there, so.
Also this Friday.
And Friday as well, so.
Well, the ones where the board's been invited.
Right, so well,
I think they're all having
we're
some kind of celebration, yeah.
So kudos to all the schools that are doing that, thank you.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Andrew.
Want to be clear. I might be a little biased, but Shen football varsity team went 8-1 this season, and we play Saratoga in the playoffs this coming Friday at home. Yes, big game, so please come, and I'm extending an invite to all of you to the game on Friday at 7 o'clock.
One
So I
last
have
time
to
for you.
change my
This is
tickets.
it, yes.
My tickets to Thursday.
Lucas, can I grab you for 2 seconds, and not to put you on the spot?
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you, not just football, because football is
season overview?
outstanding, can you round up, who's going to finals and maybe?
Yeah, I'd be glad to share that. We had a really exciting postseason in the fall, lots of teams doing great things. Field hockey, who had a year where they really lost a lot of athletes and had a struggle at the beginning of the season, excelled throughout the season, winning some games and improving, and they were able to win their first sectional game, so they were able to go on to the semifinals. They were eliminated at that point, but again, very proud of them for going as far as they did. Boys varsity soccer made it all the way to the sectional final last Thursday in the rain at Bethlehem, and we went through a scoreless game, overtime, double overtime, penalty shootouts, and then extended penalty shootouts all the way to the 11th round until they were officially defeated. However, because they were co-champions and Section 2 has a at-large section, the boys will continue. So I'll be traveling down to Vernon High School tomorrow night to watch them in the regional game. If they win that, they'll return to Waterford on Saturday for the regional final. So boys soccer continuing on. Girls soccer, an outstanding season as well. They were the #1 seed in the Suburban League. They worked their way through sectional, quarterfinals, and semifinals, and had a heartbreaking loss, unfortunately, Saturday. I was at the gala, which was a great event. I stepped out early to go see the second half of that. They lost in double overtime to Saratoga by 1 goal. So again, very proud of them with a great season, making all the way to the sectional final. Swimming and dive has their sectional championship actually coming up this week here at Shen. We're hosting it once again. Thursday is dive, if I believe, and Friday, Saturday is the swimming championships. Cross country, both boys and girls, has their sectional championship up in Saratoga during the afternoon on Saturday. So it's very exciting kind of showdown there. Our team and Bethlehem, really many consider 2 of the best in the state. So in many ways, this sectional 2 championship will really determine, who's going to be going on quite a ways after this. So exciting times for them. Girls volleyball was the #1 seed, as was boys volleyball, and their sectional championships are just getting started. So actually tomorrow night at Glens Falls, I'm remembering all this correctly, I hope, will be the girls' first game of the tournament. And if they win, they will be playing on Saturday for the finals for the section. And then the boys' seeding meeting was actually just happening today, so we'll get those brackets soon, and they'll be kind of the last championship happening. And I don't think I've missed anyone else. Yes, tennis is an outstanding one. Thank you. I'm sorry that I forgot that. We had several talented athletes go on from the sectional championship into further play. A doubles team proceeded much farther than anticipated and made it, I believe, into the quarterfinals. But one of the most spectacular accomplishments of this whole fall, we had a 9th grader, Jolie Chickhock, go all the way to the state championship, and for 3 days proceeded through that championship and became the individual champion for all of New York State. That's the first time that Shen has ever had a state championship as an individual, is my understanding. It is definitely the first time that anyone in Section 2 since 1998 has had an individual state champion, and she's a freshman. So really just exciting and outstanding for her for that accomplishment, so we're super proud of Jolie.
And golf.
Yep, and then boys and girls golf, thank you very much. So the golf team was able to take the section championship, which is amazing, and then we have a couple golfers that will also qualify to proceed to the state championship, which is held later in the spring, in June, I believe. So lots of great things happening across the board.
I couldn't let you go out without that.
Yeah,
We're
football.
having a great fall.
Sneak preview for the December presentation, we get all the highlights, but there was a lot of postseason.
Really happy
We'll
about
have
it.
all the details in December of how that all turns out. But yeah, football is coming up soon on Friday as well. So we're super proud of all of them, our coaches, our athletes, and for the support that we have from you guys as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lucas. Sorry to pull you out, but I
No, no
appreciate
problem.
that. Really
No
do. Really do. Yeah, good stuff. Great fall. Great
I don't
fall.
have anything more to add.
Okay. All right. So with that, I get a motion to adjourn. Andrea's first. Naomi a second. All in favor? Thank you.